Now, I've got a clean copy of it now, and I warn you, this could scare you. Here's the email. Dear Art Bell, I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging of the hole and the hearing of the sounds from hell is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos and audio tapes and so forth on the paranormal, supernatural. He passed away fairly recently, but he would have loved your show. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. You received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. It took me a while to find it tonight, but attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. It's not the greatest quality, but the sounds are there. I was very hesitant to send you this, as the sound bothers me to listen to. I'd suggest that if you do play it on the program, warn listeners in advance so they may have the option of turning the radio off for 30 seconds while it plays. It has always haunted me. To those who discounted the Siberia sounds from hell story, it is true, and I, for one, wish it wasn't. Rick, listening from Chicago. And so I submit now the cleaned, a better copy to you, and I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Okay, that was Art Bell and the Sounds of Hell. This is Travis and the Sounds of Dodgeball. This is Crosscourt Episode 2. Before I jump into Dodgeball talk for the week, I feel like I can't just play 2 minutes of Art Bell talking about the Sounds of Hell, which is a supposed crack in Siberia which opens up to hell. If you put a recorder there, you can supposedly hear screaming of souls that were damned there for all eternity, I guess. And so they're a popular topic for conspiracy theorists. In this case, that clip from a show, Coast to Coast AM, it used to play on 1410 before 1410 became a sports network. I think you can still hear it from time to time on CKNW 980. It's fun if you want to listen to just a yes man taking calls about aliens and vampires and other weird wacky shit like that, and just laugh a little, maybe get spooked out, etc, etc. Anyways, that was mixed into the intro to Radio Zero Podcast 54. Radio Zero is a radio show done out of CITR, the UBC radio station up there. They've been doing it for a long time. It's a really cool podcast. I suggest checking out if you like eclectic dance music mixed together and occasionally radio snippets like that. Anyways, on to episode 2. Sorry for the preamble, but I hope you kind of liked it. I want to thank everybody for the insane response to the first episode. It was actually really wacky. Wacky, I know it's wacky. Hey, look, it's Travis from the future. I apologize for just dropping in like this on your podcast. If you're really confused right now because the audio transition seemed seamless, what actually happened was that past Travis was editing, and he managed to overlay this trance track onto the podcast, and it sounded terrible for roughly 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So this is future Travis coming to you and throwing down 3 minutes and 50 seconds in its place. Turns out it's really appropriate because I just got back from watching Looper, so this all makes perfect sense to me, and hopefully you guys are following as well. So, like I was saying, on to episode 2, 182 views on the first video, which is absolutely insane. Hopefully it wasn't just some dude in his basement watching it 182 times. I assure you that wasn't me. So thank you everyone for watching that video. The response out there was really cool. People seem to enjoy the show a lot. People at weddings were coming up and talking to me about it. They happened to be Trong and Henry, VDL players, but hey, it was still cool. So thanks for that. I aim to get these out at least once a week, maybe more if I have some really cool stuff to talk about. A big shout out to all 6 of my Twitter followers at the moment. That is Grace, Claudia, Donald, Kwoo, the VDL account, who I'm also pretty sure is Kwoo, and finally Rob Shee, throwing down some tweets at me, at myself. That's so cool. He was asking where you can get the podcast. It'll be online, YouTube, almost all the time. If I find a audio uploading site, it could be there as well. So things I need to talk about before I run out of time. The window is closing. What's happening on the show today is a week recap. I go through and talk about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What was the big things that happened, and my thoughts on that. Secondly, I'm going into a fun subject. Fun, kind of a shot across the bow of conventional wisdom these days. I'm talking about what makes a good dodgeball player. It'll be a fun thing to sort of explore. I throw it out there that maybe what we're teaching players that are jumping into the higher, more competitive dodgeball folds in the beginnings of their career may not be the best thing for their formation as a player. It'll make them a good player, yes, at least from what we see good players as at the moment. A little bit to wrap your head around initially. It's not that complex, I assure you. I'm just sort of strapped for time and trying to throw it all in right now before the present timeline catches up to me. After that, we're going to do a quick preview of all the nights coming out this week. I'm going to lay down the courts that I think will be the most entertaining. You can, go out there. I do a Monday night preview, even though this show will be released after Monday night because of the whole time distortion thing. Again, apologies for that. But hey, it'll still be a good thing we can go back and listen to in the future, which is now, and see if I was right. Anyways, and then after that, we go into a little discussion on sort of my history. But it's not just me talking all about myself, even though it is. I talk about my movement from uncompetitive dodgeball to competitive dodgeball. 45 seconds here I've got. And I also use that as sort of an information session on me, my path here, why I think that's important, and it gives you a chance to reflect as the viewer as well on what you're doing with dodgeball, where it's taking you, where you may end up in the future because of dodgeball. A lot on our plates. I can go ahead and tell you that the exact ending time of this show is about 50 minutes. I'm gonna end us off with a little music as well, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I have 10 seconds left. Again, at Crosscourt Live, check me out. crossthedamncourt@gmail.com. We're good people. Give us a chance. Enjoy the rest of the show. I talk about Nelson right now. Goodbye. Apologies all around. And I'm not going to forget about the first family of dodgeball. I will definitely talk about them a little bit, or a lot of it, depending on how many times I get Trung on the show. So here we are with a weekly recap. First of all, we got Monday nights. At the moment, the top four goes like this. We have Cat City Itch, Lantern Corpse, Anytime, and finally the Gods of War. I didn't know everyone that was playing on Monday night teams at the beginning of last week, but Kyle was so gracious. Kyle sent me a list of all the players on all of the, the big time Monday night teams, and it's actually freaking insane. I used to have the opinion that, Thursday, maybe Wednesday was where the top teams were at. I would put money on saying Monday night has some of the best teams I have ever seen, or at least the highest number of awesome teams. So Cat City Itch, team currently in first, has Angie, Justin, Mattia, Baron, Stella, and finally Byron. That reads like I'm not going to say a total who's who of up and coming like dodgeballers, but they're all sort of really exciting second generation dodgeballers to an extent. Stella's been around forever. Byron is definitely one of the hot young guys to watch. Hot from a dodgeball sense. I don't look at them like that too often. Baron and Angie, both good players. Baron, mainly putting his roots down in the CDL. Coming over here, he's a sick player as well. Mattia, who sort of came to life big time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mattia, but I think he played initially with the Balls Deep, or with Balls Deep. I don't think they were the Balls Deep dodgeball experience, but they might have been. Either way, I liked him back then. I like him more even now because he's got the same sort of passion for the game. Like, I don't think he'll be satisfied until he has a team practicing 2 or 3 times a week with him. He's just that intense and sort of devoted to the game this time. Plus, he looks super styling out there with whatever haircut he's sporting. He usually wears cutoffs, so he's kind of like an idol for me. Justin too, who may become a very regular contributor to the show in the near future. Justin of Recess fame, of Thursday Night Director fame, and finally Angie. Anyways, great team, top to bottom. I like them a lot. They may be my favorite If it weren't for this second team, the Lantern Corps, currently in second, but what does stats really matter at the beginning of the season? Anyway, Kyle, Rogan, Luke, Rattel, Travis Feldman, not me, Deb, and finally Linda. That is a sick team. That's got some insane toss power. Two of the best definitely the best catching couple in the league with Rattel and Deb. Best catching couple as long as Stella and Yams don't start dating. Fingers crossed. Luke, who if you haven't seen Luke play yet this year, Luke has gone from just really good catcher and intimidating player to really good catcher, intimidating player, and sort of ripped pile of man. Word on the street is he cut out all sugars and started boxing like a maniac, and so now he is going to not just look good doing what he does on the court, but he's going to look good doing what he does on the court, if you follow me. Linda, who is an absolute terror on the courts. Note I said terror and not terrorist. There was a little confusion there last week, but this distinction is important, at least in my mind. Linda was able to disarm me in a showdown this week, and she actually commanded me to turn around onto all fours. It was, afterwards I realized it was demeaning, but in the moment I thought it was pretty cool. That's Lantern Corps. There is Anytime, who I'm just going to pull up the roster right now. I think they are also an awesome team. You know what? They may or may not be a team that I have sort of the book on, so to speak. They've got 22 wins at the moment. If I can't find it, I'm just going to move on. Kyle says, Anytime, Matt Kramer, Jeff Kelly, Bax, Claudia, Caitlin, Henry, Queenie. The new title for, a new title for one of the whiter teams out there. I don't know why I keep going back to that, but whenever I see 3 or 4 white folk on a team, I always get bouncy for some weird reason. Henry Chow. I ran into Henry at a wedding this weekend. I love Henry. I play hockey with him as well, so I'm not, I'm not just saying these things because I see him a lot, and he's bigger than me, and he'd, do things to me if I didn't say good stuff about him. But I think he's really awesome. Like, being a goalie in hockey means he can stop things, get in its way. He's got fast reflexes for a large guy. He's sort of a catch demon out there. I like the way he catches. I'm interested to see what he does hanging out in one of the top tier 1 teams this year. Definitely interested there. Finally, on Monday nights, we've got Gods of War, which is Brandon, Billy, James, Witten, Leslie, Val. An exciting team. Witten organizes all these summer drop-ins and is just getting better at an extreme rate. He's got this bizarre will to win. He sort of came off the sidelines in playoffs last year with an injured ankle. I think he was wearing jeans and was just like, team. I think it was even a tier 2 team. He said, tier 2 team, you guys aren't good enough for me right now. I'm coming on. I'm taking myself off the injured list. I'm going to play these playoffs because that's how badly he wants to win. I think that's going to translate well into tier 1, and he's going to do big things. I don't know if they've got everything they need to be amazing in tier 1 Monday right now. Leslie and Val are awesome upcoming girls. Still relatively playoff inexperienced. Is that true? I admittedly don't appear at every playoff night, but I'm usually there, and they're definitely two to watch. Val is very able to sort of be patient, hang out in the corner at the end of the game and make a huge catch. Brandon and Billy are two of the amazing men of dodgeball. Brandon for his ability to never get killed. Billy for his ability to hold the fastest thrower title for years on end. I don't think anyone's ever going to strip it away from him, lest we sort of do a biopsy on his forearm and replicate whatever he's got going on there. One last team I want to talk about for Mondays. They didn't appear high on the standings, but that's probably because they know they don't need to right now. That's Team Sam Jackson. Probably one of the most inspired team compositions with the least inspired team name. Team Samuel Jackson? Come on, guys. It's like, hey, we need to make a team name. What are we going to do? Oh, I know there's that actor everyone sort of likes and occasionally quotes. Let's do that. Cool. So there's Team Sam Jackson, but it's K-Woo, Ellie, S-Mac, Nick, Tyson, and Leo. I assume it's Nick Malika, because who else would it be? Sarah Hall is S-Mac. She prefers to be called Sarah Mac more than Sarah Hall. FYI. Kyle. Leo is awesome. He is sort of Leo's the type of guy who can just not play at 100% and still do the most amazing things out there. He's always dangerous. Keiwoo is almost the ideal body type for dodgeball. Muscular, good haircut, ridiculously tan at the moment too, but he's just packing a lot of power and he's slight, so he's not going to get hit just off of some wayward piece of flab. Yeah, I'll end that one there. Let's go to Tuesday nights. We've got Strangers with Candy at 25, Catch 22 at 20, the little dodgeball team that could at 20 as well. Obviously a lot of great things coming out of Tuesday, but I feel like it might be the least deep night so far. Prove me wrong, Tuesday. Prove me wrong. Wednesday nights, we've got Mike Vick 28, the Mascots at 24, Hurt Feelings at 20, finally the Geeks and Sneaks at 19. This is my first season playing Wednesday nights full-time in a very long time, and I'm really feeling the fact that you play 10 teams, 5 teams a night, and so you're basically seeing the same teams all the time. Doubly so in the case of Geeks and Sneaks. We're playing them, the first 3 weeks over and over and over. I know that's just kind of the way it has to be. It doesn't mean I can't be cranky about it. I do like playing against them a lot, though. But hey, having to play Vu and Vic and Matt Ho every week gets a little tiring. Luckily, they don't have Shane yet, so hopefully we don't see Shane in the back half of the season. He's off working. I think, quote me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Shane is currently working up north, not in a diamond mine. I think Shane is currently working in an ebony mine. I don't know why. I don't know if an ebony mine is actually a thing. That's just what I've heard. Vicious rumors like that really hurt the dodgeball community. Mike Vick, 28 wins. Mike Vick sort of plowing along as expected. I do expect them to be the number one regular season dodgeball team. Hands down. They have a big team. They're all super serious, super coordinated, very focused all the time. Although Mikey's away on vacation, so if they run into the Mascots too much, things might happen. Things might shuffle around and change. Hurt Feelings again, looking to be very strong throughout the season once they get all their players there for a night. The Mascots this week, I think we had 3 substitute players out. One of the reasons we have so many wins is because we had 3 substitute players out. We had Neil, Leo, and Carolyn coming out. They were all in costume too, which was really sweet. Carolyn especially, oh good lord, the things she did to teams on Wednesday night, I feel like I can't even discuss them here. We've got, viewers that are only 20, 21 years old, and they just don't have the world weariness yet to listen to the terrible things that she's done. Thursday night, to finish off, Thursday night standings are not all in at the moment. Apologies for that. As being a guy on the VDL exec team, I don't know what's wrong. I think it was some mix-up with the Tier 2 scores. Not a big deal. Because all you need to know is that 8-Bit didn't do that well. And I hadn't even played Thursday night, so I can't give you an accurate rundown of what happened. And I also feel obliged to tell you why I didn't play Thursday night. I didn't play not because I was hurt, not because I was sick, but because I went to a concert. I was down at the Rickshaw Theater on Main and Hastings watching Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti live in person. Olivia Chang was also there with me of... Who's a notable team Olivia plays with? Let's say the Derek Zoolander Center for Children Who Can't Read Good and also want to do other things good. Dodgeball team. We had a blast. I think the opening act may have arguably been better. The opening act was Damn Funk. They were just these 2 funkadelic dudes. The lead singer looked a lot like Cat Williams. There was so many guitar and other keyboard solos throughout the thing. It was really, really funky. Think a more urban Chromeo. And that's kind of what you get with these guys. It was really amazing. I think their live act was way better than any of their other recorded stuff. Their other recorded music getting a little too convoluted for my liking. It was really stripped down live. It was raw. And the drummer looked like Questlove. It was sweet. We had a blast. Ariel Pink himself was wearing a bathrobe. He said he was really sick. He crowd surfed 3 times and dropped twice. It was a rough night for him. He was fighting with the sound guy all the time. But hey, he gave out a decent show, and that's all we can really ask for as concert goers. It was like $16, whatever. Okay, so that's my weekly rundown. We're going to go not quickly, I'm going to take some time with this into the good player discussion before we jump into a preview of the week coming up. So, good players. I'll take a stand here and say that I think currently we define good players as sort of the absence of being bad. What I mean there is that as long as a player isn't reaching, isn't sort of overextending, isn't throwing all on their own, etc., etc., they kind of get a pass and say, okay, they're a good player. They can make their catches. They don't get in the way. They can definitely fit in with a Tier 1 team. But when new players come in and we sort of impose this on them, not new players Tier 3, Tier 2, because they won't listen anyway, but say you've sort of scouted out a guy, you bring him in and say, hey, this is kind of the way we play. We'd appreciate if you stuck to this format. We're showing, even if we're not going out and saying that to them, we are, in a sense, demonstrating that this is the way to play. We show a lot of discipline in our play, by and large, if they're watching playoffs, if they're watching later in the regular season, or if they're just watching a team that's decided for whatever regular league season night it is, saying, hey, we're going to hunker down, we're going to play some serious dodgeball. We really teach the risk out of the game. Don't reach, don't run around, especially don't dodge. Dodging, jumping, really frowned upon at the higher levels. And, I think it's unfair to a player, not because it won't make them a good player, they will become a good player, but we don't give them their own time to work it out themselves and explore what they are, what they could be. Maybe they are the next dodging phenom. Maybe they are the next sort of step in the evolution of the game. Maybe they are the Neo of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. They're the next Neo of VDL, but we suppress it enough, and there's no Morpheus. Who is going to be Dodgeball's Morpheus for these guys, right? And so we'll go back into the early seasons. Season 1 was just a dirty dodge fest. It was awful dodgeball, but it was hilarious at the same time. Very few catches were made. Everyone was throwing alone. It was total chaos out there on the courts almost at all times. But it was my chaos. It was where I would dodge around, I'd drop like a log, I would sort of feign death out there. It was hilarious. We had such a blast, and we did it together. Everyone sort of grew, and dodgeball eventually turned into the boring game. Boring at times, boring stylistically, at least, unless you're the Spartans. I think they still play really exciting dodgeball. That it is today. And let's go back to 8-bit for the first time, perhaps. 8-bit, I think, sort of laid out a real boring foundation, despite whatever romantic views that myself and Trong have, and sort of hateful memories that everybody else has. 8-bit sort of laid down this thing that even if we are skilled players, let's play an absurdly structured game. Let's try to win off that, and then if we have to, we can bring out some luck, bring out some catches, bring out individual skill if it gets to that. If you unrepress the memories, if you let them out of their cage, you'll remember that almost all of 8-bit's victories were absurdly anticlimactic. They weren't very fun. Most people weren't cheering for us because we just weren't playing exciting out there dodgeball. We were playing Travis middle, CT and Shane on the left side, Kevinville playing corner, Tiana and Seabone hanging out around me. Replace me with Trong when necessary, and we would just wait. We'd step up. We'd throw on 3. We'd throw straight at the walls. It would come back to us. Chris and Shane would counterattack if we had to. If there was a guy on the other team we had to kill, they'd all throw together and they'd gun a guy down. And then we would just play ball possession and try to win the game. Now, when we played that game, no one could beat us. It could have been the competition, etc., etc. But, we just played a really good style, and it worked because we just didn't drop games. But, where did we, more than, stroking my own wang in saying how good 8-bit was at the time, it was more to say that how did this 8-bit come out of what we were before, because Shane and I played absurdly sloppy dodgeball before. We were really passionate with with the Dodgeball Busters, and then Love Juice, and then we took a massive left turn with Love-Hate Relationship. And so we went down this path where, in order to get to this defensive zone, which we eventually found ourselves in, we took like 180 degree, we turned around, we drove straight for Florida Baby, because we played Love-Hate Relationship for 2 years. And in those 2 years, we just laid down the most run and gun, absurd, ridiculous dodgeball we could. And so it was a good opportunity. It was a good opportunity to sort of cut our teeth, find out what we could and couldn't get away with out on the courts. And we did that, with very few safety nets. We weren't playing with Carolyn at the time. Luckily, we had Amy, but outside of that, we had no safety nets. Oftentimes, we were only playing with 3 guys, so if you got out, you got out. So you had to go out there, throw as many balls as fast as you could, trust that Kevin Vo's bulging biceps and crazily inked tattoos were enough to scare a team away, sneak out a few wins, and we never won a championship, partially because we were playing that brand of dodgeball. So we went back to the drawing board, came up with 8-bit, and we were determined, we're going to play this. Whoops, pardon me. It didn't happen so sequentially. It wasn't a very linear thing, but it was a thing. We eventually emerged from the embers, like Phoenix that had died before, with this boring, candy-coated shell of dodgeball. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to let that hang in the air for a second. We're going to go into a quick preview of the coming week, the gyms that I myself would try to be at if I could possibly be at gyms. And I may be. So Monday, we got Fleming, my pick, 8:30 p.m. We've got Pork. We have the Lantern Corps. We have one of these days, and finally Lululemon. Great core to watch for a lot of reasons. Pork is sort of a real classic team with great old guard players. I think they usually do heavy revisions to their team each season, so you never know who you're going to see. You may see Sean Chow, you may see Seabell, Mark Williams. There's so many different possibilities. Victoria, worth the price of admission alone, which is free. Go check them out. The Lantern Corps, again, one of my picks, possibly my pick for best team of Monday nights. Why not go check them out, see how they stack up against Pork. One of these days is doing really well. I'm not super... As a matter of fact, I have no idea who's on that team. They could be a bunch of young whippersnappers, up-and-comers that I'm really always afraid of. They got 14 wins, whatever. They could be good. Why not check out some young blood? And finally, Lululemon. Lou in reference, I believe, to Victor Lou and Leslie Lou. Victor has one of the scariest throws, I think. And, Leslie's always out there to catch. Is Matt Ho on that team? I really don't think so. But hey, why not? Go check them out, too. I think that's the best court for Monday night. Tuesday, the night and court and time to watch is DT at 7 p.m. It's Strangers with Candy, Furious Jorge. Is it Dodgeball I Choose You or We're Going to Catch You? It's a Pokemon themed team. And finally, the little Dodgeball that could. I think that's going to be the best one to check out. Wednesday night, go 8 p.m. Come watch Itchy Balls, Alpha Kenny Buddy Up, Raging Balls. Finally, the 2 teams that I think you should be really there to watch. Mascots and Geeks and Sneaks. Mascots, we always wear costumes. We are a blast. And Geeks and Sneaks are just good dodgeball players. So are Raging Balls, though. So they'll be fun. I also hear that Carlton is a really swank, sick new gym. Just, amazing. New floors. The VSB really went all out on Carlton. Plus, it's like a 2-minute walk from my house. So, hey, maybe you can come have a drink with me. This isn't really an open invitation to get drunk on Wednesday night with me. Maybe it is, though. Let's see what happens. Thursday night, stay at DT for both halves because I think it's going to be good. Why do I think it's going to be good? Because I'm going to pull it up and tell you. 7 to 8:30, you've got... we got Spartans playing at 7 o'clock against 3 teams that I don't really know. I do know Short and Sexy, James Durante, and other shorter VDL players, I assume. Go see how Spartans plays in one of the bigger high school gyms. They're still going to do great. And they're also playing against 2 teams that I don't really know, like Crucial Catch and Unnamed DC. So you're going to see them sort of come out of their shells and play the exciting dodgeball that can occasionally get them in trouble. Ballbusters, Bottoms Up, Artful Dodgers. I'd hit that on the other court. I love the Ballbusters. Great team. I also love Bottoms Up. Steve, a guy from Bottoms Up, Steve, really impressed with his rule knowledge from last week. He called a trap successfully. Unfortunately, it was a trap against him, so he was arguing with the ref. Doesn't matter. 8:30, We're Going to Catch You, Stellar Balls, Hootsuite Huggers, New West All Blacks, don't know them. Going to be fun anyway. Psychedelic, Wonder Bang, Comrades, Smash Brothers, the other court at 8:30. Going to be a blast. Psychedelic is always a good team. They're loaded. They have too many good male players, and that causes them trouble because how do you sub 6-7 guys in on a playoff court? That's really tough to do. No one sort of has the feel for the game, and no one gets that tired that they need so many subs. Bunderwang, aka Bonerwang, your only chance to go see Joanne Chua on a court, I assume, if she's subbing for that team. Otherwise, you can go for the likes of Sunny and Phil and Titus and Chris Chan and maybe Alan and Alvin. Probably not Sunny. I think Sunny's traveling at the moment. Finally, the Smash Brothers. They are a awesome team that I don't really remember at the moment. I played them like the last 2 weeks in a row, so I am familiar with them, just not familiar with them. Apologies all around. That's the end of our preview. What I can do is go back now, and let's go through sort of the GM days, how I came to be so passionately involved with dodgeball. After my first 2 seasons, I was looking to make another team. By that point, there was sort of a Tuesday and Thursday night dodgeball, and so some people were actually doing this crazy thing. They were playing 2 nights of dodgeball a week in both the Tuesday and Thursday night league. It was insane. Like, man, these people are so into dodgeball. They can do it that much. Maybe I can. So I wanted to initially, but I didn't. And so I started looking for a team. And Shane and I came up with this Love Juice idea. Because by that point, Hate Sauce had won the first 2 seasons. And me being the dodgeball fanboy that deifies good players, like I am, I decided, well, the only thing to name a team right now is Love Juice. Because Love Juice is the exact opposite. It's the antithesis of Hate Sauce, right? And so we're going to be the guys, that can take Hate Sauce down. So Shane and I went off. And we grabbed some high school buddies, and we made a team. And, unfortunately we didn't win. We were way more competitive than we had been in the past, and we were wearing, some of the snazziest shirts out there. I think we were the first team ever to have a dry fit shirt. We got it from Gaia. Rest in peace, Gaia. They were my ultimate supplier hookup. They were so good. Their online system was a dream. And this was back, 4 years ago when online buying was still sort of a sexy endeavor, I think. Maybe. But they got outsourced to Mexico, and Gaia is no more. It's tragic. Matt Ho will never get his Love Juice jersey. Matt Ho joined us later on. Matt Ho, interesting, you could ask yourself, hey, Matt Ho is such a sexy, omnipresent VDL figure right now. Where did he come from? Well, I can tell you exactly where he came from. Matt Ho dated a high school friend of mine for a while. They're not together any longer. As many of you may know, you can always see Matt Ho out on the town, playing the field, doing his thing. But at the time, Matt Ho was just this guy who talked to Shane and I one night at dinner, became really interested in dodgeball, told us he played softball. So we said, hey, you throw good balls? Come play for Love Juice, and eventually he found himself on Love Juice. Eventually it came time to choose friends. Do we choose Matt Ho, or do we choose the high school friend that he broke up with? I'd like to say we chose Matt Ho, only in the sense that we never really talked to the other girl anyway. Whatever, Matt Ho, you're 1 in a million, 1 in 2 million even. Great dude. So there we were. We had Love Juice, played for a couple seasons. We didn't win. We never even got close. But we always had fun doing it, and we decided we wanted to be even more competitive. Now, before this all even happened, this was the days of the very, very old VDL website. These are the days, I could say, when VDL had a message board, a freaking message board. If you're not a message board person, this won't appeal to you at all. But message boards are this wonderful, magical place where even the smallest communities can sort of interact and really take their time and compose nice, long posts about any subject, in this case dodgeball, just talk about them. So we would throw things down. I think regular contributors were Ray Lamb, Johnson Wong, Jason Chow, myself, Buns, Trong, etc. So sort of people who've been around forever and had already been around forever at that time. And we would talk about teams, and this is where I would get really passionate about things. I'd see sort of who's coming back next season, what the team makeups were. And this is sort of enter Kevin Vo. At the time, Kevin Vo was just the guy on the Sutton Place team who was really scary. He was what Kevin Vo is to people who don't know Kevin Vo right now, to me. So he was scary, he was intimidating, I didn't want to play against him because he threw really hard. And then we got talking after one of the playoffs at, I believe it wasn't Bing, it was that place along 16th where we played dodgeball playoffs occasionally. And, we got to talking. It's like, hey, let's make a team. And I said, maybe. I might be playing with high school guys. And so nothing happened. We were going to sort of break off Sutton Place and the Dodgeball Buster team and make what would have been like a good, fun combination team at the time. Because back then there wasn't such a incestuous dodgeball environment as there is today. It was, I'm playing dodgeball. I have fun when I'm playing dodgeball. Therefore, I'll play with my friends. And eventually it turned into, I like playing dodgeball. Everyone's my friend. Why don't I just play with everybody? So this is when that was sort of just happening. And at the time, it was sort of seen as super teams forming. But now it's sort of the same commingling that occurs, I imagine, in a college dormitory. Random and frequent and miscellaneous sexual liaisons of a dodgeball variety in this case, minus the sexual part. Just playing on teams, trying it out for a few seasons, seeing how it worked. And so that's where love-hate relationship came from, because he said, I've got two guys, himself and Mike Haugen, and we had two guys, myself and Shane. And, Mike Haugen always had an assortment of girlfriends who he could bring on the team and play with us. And Kevin at the time was with Britt, and we played together, and it was really fun. We weren't successful. We were probably way less successful than we thought we would have been. But it pushed us down that road to trying new things. We shifted through like the Care Bear Boys, Tommy and Andy, which was really fun. That was us at our most aggressive before we were able to wrangle in Trong and Carolyn and Tiana and, oh my god, Chris Tung, and make what was 8-bit. So we really cut our teeth and found ourselves, so to speak. And that's sort of the underlying thing, is that I really want players to be able to find themselves. And I think there's one thing to be said for entering the league, becoming a solid player, and just sort of embracing the format that everyone plays, not absent-mindedly. I'm sure there's a lot of conscious thought that goes into everything. I don't want to underplay that, but develop a style and you will be more noticed and just seen as a player. Not that that's important to you at all, but I think it's good from the sort of personal growth standpoint, just so you know what your sort of capabilities are. I know that I hate showdowns by and large because I'm not good at that. How do I know? Because I put myself in a lot of sort of showdown situations, and I know when it comes right down to it, my natural instinct to go do goofy shit just bites me right in the butt. And so I know I've experimented enough with sort of blocking to know blocking isn't my absolute strong suit. I usually either pass the balls off and try to go for a catch, or lightly dodge out of the way, a habit I'm trying to work out. But I've known myself. I've played so much dodgeball that I'm still not absurdly proficient at blocking. So yeah, find your style, and then be what everyone else wants to be. If you decide that's what is for you. If the game wants to keep evolving, keep changing, we need to be very willing to go out and change. The change comes from us. Be the change you want to see in dodgeball, to quote every girl's Instagram or Pinterest, or guy's Instagram or Pinterest. I see that quote a lot. Sorry. Also, I want to really shout out to the amazing insular community that allows me and us to do what we're doing now and will do in the future. Because, episode 1 was a dodgeball podcast, but interestingly enough, how much dodgeball did I actually talk? How much did I actually talk about strictly the game of dodgeball? It was very little. Most of it was just first name references to players, and that's what I ideally want to do, and ideally want to keep doing. I do want to have a lot of dodgeball talk in it as well. But the fact that I can just sort of go and throw player names out, and by and large the viewer at home is going to know what I'm talking about, is just so wacky, and I'm so in love with it, and I'm going to hopefully stay in love with it for a long time. We're going to have the greatest honeymoon period ever. Not necessarily lastly, but before I go off into other interesting tangents, this is the time for sort of viewer reflection, and I can ask, what do you give up for dodgeball? this isn't saying like what sort of financial resources are you putting into dodgeball, how much work are you doing for dodgeball, but I do want you to sort of take some time to think about, what are you giving up for dodgeball? And again, not in the JFK sense, expect what VDL can do for you. If you're one of those players that's playing 4 nights a week right now, you are giving up your evenings, the entire week, to go out and play a game of dodgeball. And, everyone's going to have very, very different reasons for doing this. Some people, dodgeball has grown into becoming their social network, which I think is so cool. I've played recreational men's hockey for a long time, and never have I hung out with a player from another team. Ever. Never would think of it. I'm not friends with any other player on any other team, and I can't actually see a situation where I would have, face-to-face contact with a player I've played against. And I've probably played against more hockey players than I've ever played against dodgeball players, which is so insane. I couldn't name them. Couldn't name them for shit. So yeah, you could be playing for these social issues because, hey, you found this amazing group of friends. They all share your common interest, and now this is just what you do. You sort of really identify with that. Are you missing out on things because you don't do things other than dodgeball? It's possible. Maybe you don't know you're missing out on other things because you're playing so much dodgeball. People just know and assume, like, okay, Monday to Thursday, they're out busy with dodgeball, and hey, they just can't be pulled out. And I don't want to bring any of this up to wag a finger and say, like, you play too much dodgeball. But I do think it's sort of important to think about it, because in the crazy event that dodgeball ceases to exist, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do you get old and eventually stop playing dodgeball? Do you have an eventual exit strategy for dodgeball? Is a question I can ask, and I think everyone should sort of have that rattling around in their heads. Do you get married? Do you have a family? Does work eventually stop? Does school eventually stop you from being able to play dodgeball? And I only bring this up because with professional athletes, the ones who do take their eventual retirement the hardest are the ones who don't really have anything else going on for them other than, say, the game of hockey. Hockey players that are constantly involved in other things, have other interests outside of the game, have an easier time transitioning to things other than hockey once they retire. And please don't for a second think that I'm saying that anyone who plays 4 nights of dodgeball doesn't have anything else going on for them. I think that's absolutely silly to think. A lot of times people that have the time to play 4 nights a week are just very ambitious people that can do so many things. That's just an amazing feat that they're able to put so much dodgeball into their schedule. But hey, I'm allowed to sort of ask questions, right? What if you had to stop playing dodgeball tomorrow? How would that change you? Would that completely nix you off from your entire social circle? I don't know. For me, it would take away a significant part of my social circle, not my entire social circle. It would free up 2 nights a week for me, Tuesday, Thursday. The biggest thing it would do for me, I think, is it would require me to go to almost every website I frequent and change my account there. Just a significant amount of time, because my vdldodgeball.ca email is tied to so many different things. That's what keeps me up at night. If I lost dodgeball or stopped being an exec, I would lose my VDL dodgeball email account. And does that signify that that's all I'm going to lose, or that's the most important thing? No. It means that I just haven't really thought it over. I don't know what my exit strategy is from dodgeball. I'm still at the point where I think I'm going to play forever. And where I am with that right now is probably a lot more comfortable than where I would have been 4 years ago, 3 years ago, had I been asked the same question. Because, 3 or 4 years ago was when 8-bit still hadn't been formed, and I was still sort of trying as hard as I possibly could to win a championship. It was a very singular goal. I was so absurdly zoned in on winning a championship. Prior to playoffs, Shane and I would actually get together, and we would map out all the different possibilities we could have for a playoff run, and we would talk about the teams, and we'd talk about the players, and what we thought at the time were their tendencies, and how we could play, and how we could try to beat them. And was that good? Did that help us? Yeah. I think we always had decent playoff recordings. I mean, playoff outings. Where we fell short was that the rest of our team wasn't there with us. We couldn't translate that into the rest of the team, because we could say, hey Kirby, hey Eric, blah blah blah, this is the team, this is what we want to try to do, and they'd be like, yo dude, we're playing dodgeball here, man, we're just having fun. So they weren't on our level of ambition, so to speak, and I was worried that I would be that guy who is just an old man filled with regret, to paraphrase Inception, something like that, who would just never win, and I'd sort of eventually be the laughingstock of EDL because I couldn't win despite how hard I would try, and I'd be like 35, and I'd be balding. I don't think I'd bald, actually. Interesting note, I'm probably just going to get gray. Look for it happening now and really soon in the future. I'm much more likely to gray than I am to ever lose my hair. Yeah. But luckily I broke through. Oddly enough, the first championship I was ever able to win was with Strangers with Candy. I think I was up late the night before eating McDonald's. I got up at noon, strolled into the gym, walked out with a title. It was a Monday title at a time when Monday was a little bit weaker, though. It still counts, damn it. It still counts. Nowadays, every night is so strong that all medals are equal in everybody's eye. In everybody's eyes, unless they have bad eyes or no eyes. Shout out to any blind dodgeball leagues out there, because that would be crazy. Blind dodgeball, if you are a currently sighted person, is actually a really tough, scary thing to do. We used to get into it over at Cooper's Hall when that was still a thing. A few people would put boxes over their head, and they would be sort of the blind knights out there trying to play dodgeball. It was terrifying, just a terrible idea. Don't ever do it unless you're crazy, or unless you're really adventurous. Yeah, so that wraps up everything that I had planned to talk about today. It's only been 45 minutes. What a surprise. I'm going to quickly pop over to the Crosscourt Twitter, Crosscourt Live, at Crosscourt Live, on Twitter. Shout out to everybody that's been able to follow me so far. That is Rob and Kwoo, Grace, Claudia, and whoever runs the VDL Twitter account. I believe that's Kwoo. Shout out to all you guys. You're fabulous. They're the ones getting all of the insider information on dodgeball, on the dodgeball podcasts. I usually post up there 15, 16 hours in advance when I'm planning to do these podcasts. I asked you to get me some questions. If you get me your questions in early, I will definitely talk about them on air. And it looks like this point, I've only got one question. The question is, Ernst Ball at Crosscourt Live, what are you wearing? And, wow, what am I wearing right now? I'm wearing jeans, a nice dark jean, a gray American Apparel t-shirt, and some glasses. That's me. That's what I'm wearing right now. I'm not going to throw the question back out of the internet. What are you wearing? I think that one's a little creepy. Just a little too creepy to answer. And with that, I'm going to start wrapping up the show. I'm going to thank you all for listening again. I'm going to tell you that the big events that should be highlighted in your dodgeball events calendar is the Pub Night. Pub Night is set. Pub Night is happening, and I believe it's happening. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to do it once. I'm going to do it right. It's happening November 3rd at the Electric Owls Social Club in Vancouver. Probably, I'm going to go ahead and say this is the most ambitious venue for sure. I know Metronomy played there not too long ago. It's on like Main and Pryor. Holy moly, VDL gets skitty and dirty, and VDL is going to be awesome, I think. This is going to be a wild one. Close enough to a SkyTrain that you can definitely take transit there. Why wouldn't you take transit to one of these things? Never drink and drive. bad idea. Super bad idea. Travel in packs. As we'll be hanging out in one of the less desirable areas of Vancouver. That is until it's entirely gentrified, which it will be soon. And then no one will be able to live there because it'll be super expensive. So yeah, that's happening at the Electric Owl on November 3rd, right by Science World. Maybe you want to take a stroll down to Science World. I know they're renovating it. Go do some science. Do some learning in the day before you do irreparable damage to your brain cells at night. Not true. Alcohol does not kill brain cells, as far as science has been able to tell me. Where it does cause problems is open wounds and sort of transitional areas of cells. So like the outside of lips to the inside of lips, and then sort of esophagus down to stomach, where the cell types change. It has sort of an enhanced effect that can be really dangerous. Or, So Anatomy 390 and 391 have told me. So that's the end of me for this week. I hope you had a blast with me. I'm sorry for a shorter show. If you had an hour, if you still got 10 minutes of your lunch break left, and you're like, man, what am I going to do now? I'll tell you exactly what you should go do now. You should go listen to some music. Do I have any amazing songs? I'll probably throw whatever amazing song I'm about to suggest into the outro. I want you to listen to... I apologize for this. I want you to listen to Yacht, and I want you to listen to I Walked Alone. Yacht is this really cool, very weird band out of Southern California. They opened for Hot Chip. That's how I was exposed to them. Two really cool singers, a guy and a chick, both singing. Go listen to them. Yeah. Anyways, stay solid. Keep your eyes up for the Crosscourts out there on the court. I won't let that become a tagline because I think it's really cheesy. So long, and thanks again. Bye.